The morning light filtered through my kitchen window as I stirred honey into my chamomile tea, the golden swirls catching the sunbeam, like tiny promises of sweetness to come. September in Portland always felt like hope to me. Crisp air carrying the scent of rain and possibility. I had exactly 47 days until my wedding to Marcus, and every detail was falling perfectly into place. Or so I thought. My phone buzzed against the granite countertop, and I smiled seeing Jessica's name on the screen. My cousin Jessica had been my closest friend since childhood. We'd grown up 3 houses apart, shared secrets, dreams, and even a matching scar from when we tried to build a treehouse at age 8. Morning sunshine. Her voice sang through the speaker. I have the most amazing surprise for you. I tucked the phone between my shoulder and ear, continuing to prepare my breakfast. Oh, what kind of surprise? The kind that's going to make your wedding absolutely perfect. Can I come over? I'm literally 5 minutes away. Something in her tone made me pause. Jessica never drove anywhere before noon on weekends. She was militantly devoted to sleeping in. But the excitement in her voice was infectious. Of course, doors open. I set down my mug and moved to unlock the front door, my bare feet padding across the hardwood floors of the Craftsman House Marcus, and I had bought together 6 months ago. Everything about our life felt solid, rooted, ready for the next chapter. The doorbell rang exactly 4 minutes later, and Jessica burst through with her trademark whirlwind energy, auburn curls bouncing as she threw her arms around me. We're like sisters, Elle. We always have been, she said, squeezing tight, which is why I know you're going to absolutely love what I've done for you. She pulled back, green eyes sparkling with something I couldn't quite identify. In her hands was an elegant, cream-colored envelope, the kind used for formal invitations. What's this? I asked, accepting the envelope. My name was written across the front in calligraphy I didn't recognize. Open it. Open it. Jessica bounced on her toes like a child on Christmas morning. Inside was a letter on expensive letterhead from Portland Premier Wedding Planning. My heart stopped as I read the first line. Dear Ms. Eleanor Chun, thank you for selecting Portland Premier Wedding Planning to coordinate your October 15th wedding celebration. Jess, I said slowly, my voice barely above a whisper. What is this? I hired them for you. Surprise. She clapped her hands together. I know how stressed you've been trying to coordinate everything yourself, so I took care of it. They're taking over all the final details. The words on the page blurred as I tried to process what I was reading. The letter outlined services I'd never requested, changes to venues I'd never approved, and my stomach dropped. A total cost of $47,000. Jessica, I can't afford this. Marcus and I budgeted $15,000 for the entire wedding, and we've already spent most of that. Don't worry about money. She waved her hand dismissively. I put it all on your credit card, the one you keep in your kitchen drawer for emergencies. This totally counts as an emergency. Your wedding needs to be perfect. The room tilted. You used my credit card? Without asking. We're family, Elle. Besides, you're always so conservative with money. Sometimes you need someone to push you toward what you actually deserve. I sank into my kitchen chair, still holding the letter. Jess, this is fraud. You can't just use someone else's credit card. Her expression shifted, the excited smile fading into something harder. Fraud? Really? After everything I've done for you over the years. What are you talking about? Jessica's laugh had a bitter edge now. You seriously don't remember? Senior year, when you got accepted to Northwestern, and I didn't? I'm the one who convinced you to go. I sacrificed my own college dreams to support yours. That's not what happened. The memory felt distorted, like looking through water. You applied to different schools. You said you wanted to stay local, because someone had to be realistic about money. Her voice was getting louder. while you got to play art student with mommy and daddy's trust fund. My parents worked 3 jobs to send me to college. And you know it, whatever helps you sleep at night, L. I stared at this person who looked like my cousin, but sounded like a stranger. Jess, even if any of that were true, it doesn't give you the right to what? To care about you? To want your wedding to be beautiful instead of the budget disaster you were planning. She started pacing around my kitchen, her movements sharp and agitated. Do you know what your venue looks like, L? Really looks like? It's a glorified community center. Your flowers are grocery store carnations. Your dress is off the rack. Each word felt like a slap. Those were our choices. Marcus and I decided. Marcus. She spat his name like it tasted bad. Saint Marcus with his teacher's salary and his noble calling. You could have done so much better. Get out. What? Get out of my house. Jessica's face cycled through several expressions before landing on cold fury. Fine, but you can't cancel what I've already put in motion. The contracts are signed. The deposits are non-refundable. You'll thank me later when you have the wedding you actually deserve instead of the pathetic little ceremony you were settling for. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then turned back. Oh, and L, I'm the maid of honor. I've earned it. The front door slammed, leaving me alone with the devastating letter and the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. I fumbled for my phone and called my credit card company. The automated system cheerfully informed me that my available credit was $127. My limit was $50,000. Jessica had spent $49,873 in the past week. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the charges. Portland Premier Wedding Planning, Chateau Valley Vineyard, Bella Fiore Luxury Florals, Morrison String Quartet. Each transaction a nail in the coffin of the simple, meaningful wedding Marcus and I had planned together. I called Marcus, my voice breaking as I tried to explain what had happened. He dropped everything and came straight over, finding me still sitting at the kitchen table surrounded by papers and printouts. We'll figure this out, he said, pulling me into his arms. We'll call everyone, cancel everything, dispute the charges. But as we made call after call, the reality became clear. Jessica had been thorough. She'd signed contracts using forged copies of my signature. She'd provided fake approval emails from accounts that looked like mine, but with slightly different domains. The wedding planning company had emails from me approving every upgrade, every addition, every expensive flourish. How long has she been planning this? Marcus asked, staring at the paper trail. That's when it hit me. 3 years ago, Jessica had borrowed my laptop for a week when hers crashed. 2 years ago, she'd helped me set up online banking and had watched me input all my passwords. Last year, she'd offered to help organize my filing system and had spent hours going through my financial documents. I'd thought she was being helpful. She'd been studying me. Before we continue, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. What's the worst betrayal you've experienced from someone you trusted? Your stories always blow my mind. We drove to my neighbor Patricia's house because I couldn't stand being in my own space anymore. Patricia was 73, a retired attorney who'd become like a grandmother to me since we'd moved to the neighborhood. She took one look at my face and ushered us inside. Tell me everything, she said, setting down 3 cups of coffee and a plate of homemade cookies. As I recounted the whole story, Patricia's expression grew grimmer. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Honey, she finally said, this isn't just wedding sabotage. This is identity theft, fraud, and forgery. We're talking federal crimes. But she's family, I whispered. Family doesn't do this to family. Patricia's voice was firm. And from what you're telling me, this wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. This was calculated, premeditated. Marcus reached for my hand. Elle, remember last Christmas? Jessica kept asking about our wedding budget, our timeline. She seemed so interested in every detail. And your birthday dinner, I said, the memory surfacing. She kept pushing me to go somewhere more expensive. When I said we were saving for the wedding, she got that same look she had today. What look? Patricia asked, like she was disappointed in me, like I was letting her down by not living up to some standard I didn't know existed. Patricia nodded grimly. Classic narcissistic manipulation. She's rewritten your entire relationship in her head. You're not her cousin anymore. You're a reflection of her own success or failure. The pieces kept falling into place. Jessica's increasingly frequent comments about my clothes, my car, my job at the nonprofit where I worked as a graphic designer. How she'd started introducing me to people as my cousin who's really talented but doesn't know how to market herself. The way she'd begun suggesting I was settling for Marcus, for our house, for our life choices. She's been grooming you, Patricia said quietly, testing boundaries, normalizing increasingly inappropriate behavior. This credit card theft, it's not where it started. Is it? I thought back. Small things. Jessica borrowing $20 and never paying it back. Taking my jacket from a restaurant because she liked it better than hers. Using my Netflix password, then my Amazon account, then asking for my Costco card just once for a big shopping trip. Each time, I told myself it was family. It was sharing. It was love. She took your grandmother's ring, Marcus said suddenly. I looked at him sharply. What? Remember? 3 months ago when she came over for dinner. You were showing her your jewelry box, and you couldn't find your grandmother's opal ring afterward. You thought you'd misplaced it. The memory hit like a physical blow. I'd searched everywhere for that ring. It was the one thing I'd planned to wear at my wedding that had belonged to my grandmother, who'd raised me after my parents died in a car accident when I was 12. Jessica had been the only other person in my bedroom that night. Call the police, Patricia said. Now, the detective who came to Patricia's house was a woman about my age named Sarah Kim. She listened to everything with the calm professionalism of someone who'd seen it all before. Unfortunately, financial crimes within families are more common than people think, she said. The good news is you've documented everything well, and the evidence is pretty clear-cut. The forged signatures alone are enough for multiple felony charges. What happens next? I asked. We'll need you to file a formal complaint. We'll investigate the charges, interview witnesses, examine the forged documents. Given the amount involved and the sophistication of the scheme, this will likely go to trial. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Elle, I hope you've calmed down. I'm coming by tonight, so we can discuss the final wedding details. We need to pick your jewelry for the photos. I showed the text to Detective Kim. She nodded. Perfect. Text her back. Act normal. See if you can get her to admit to anything in writing. With shaking fingers, I typed, I'm still processing everything. Did you really use my credit card without permission? The response came immediately. Stop being dramatic. I used our credit card for our family celebration. You'll understand when you see how perfect everything looks. Our credit card, Detective Kim read aloud. That's an admission of guilt right there. Over the next hour, I continued texting with Jessica, each message revealing more of her twisted logic. She genuinely seemed to believe she had the right to make financial decisions for me. More disturbingly, she'd begun referring to herself as my wedding coordinator in messages to vendors, implying she had legal authority to make decisions on my behalf. She's been telling people she's your business partner, Detective Kim explained after calling several of the vendors. Some of them think you two run a wedding planning company together. The scope of Jessica's deception was breathtaking. She created fake business cards, a fake website, even fake social media accounts that portrayed us as co-owners of Chun and Morrison Wedding Design. Morrison is her married name, I told Detective Kim. But there's no business. She's been planning this for months, maybe longer, the detective said. This isn't just fraud. It's a complete alternate reality she's constructed. The next 6 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, canceled vendors, and difficult conversations. The fraud investigation moved quickly because Jessica had left such a clear paper trail. The forged signatures were obvious under expert analysis. The fake email accounts were easily traced back to her home computer. Even the fake business she'd created had her personal information all over it. Marcus and I managed to cancel about half of the inflated wedding expenses by proving they were fraudulent. We lost some deposits, but my credit card company agreed to reverse most of the charges pending the criminal investigation. The hardest part was telling our families. My Aunt Linda, Jessica's mother, went through all the classic stages of denial. She was just trying to help. Aunt Linda pleaded over the phone. You know how much she loves you. Mom, I heard Jessica's husband Dan in the background. She committed identity theft. This isn't about love. Dan, it turned out, had been trying to get Jessica help for what he called her spending problem for 2 years. She'd been secretly opening credit cards in both their names, running up massive debt that he'd been quietly paying off to avoid damaging their credit. I should have warned you, he told me during one painful phone conversation. But I kept thinking I could handle it, keep it contained. I never thought she'd target family. How bad is it? I asked. We're looking at bankruptcy. She spent over $200,000 in the past 3 years. I had no idea until the lawyers started digging. $200,000. The number was so large it didn't feel real. Where did it all go? Clothes, jewelry, vacations, home renovations we couldn't afford. She's been living like we're millionaires while I work overtime just to keep us afloat. His voice cracked. I found receipts for things she bought you over the years. Expensive gifts, she said, came from both of us. I never saw those purchases. She was buying your affection with money we didn't have. The wedding gifts. The surprise dinners at expensive restaurants where Jessica would grab the check and wave away my offers to pay. The designer handbag she'd given me for my birthday last year, insisting it was from both her and Dan. All of it bought with stolen money. All of it part of a long con I'd been too naive to see. 3 months after that devastating morning in my kitchen, I stood in the courthouse as Jessica's sentencing was read. She'd pled guilty to identity theft, fraud, and forgery in exchange for a reduced sentence. The defendant will serve 18 months in county jail, followed by 3 years probation, the judge announced. She will also be required to pay full restitution to the victim and will undergo mandatory counseling for gambling and shopping addiction. Jessica turned to look at me as the bailiff approached to lead her away. For a moment, I saw a flash of the cousin I'd once loved, confused, scared, alone. Then her expression hardened. This is all your fault, she mouthed. Even now, even here, she couldn't accept responsibility for what she'd done. Dan filed for divorce the same week. Aunt Linda, devastated by the revelation that Jessica had also been stealing from her for years, stopped taking Jessica's calls from jail. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I just felt tired. Marcus and I got married on a sunny October day in the backyard of our little craftsman house. My coworker Sarah officiated, having gotten ordained online for the occasion. Patricia made the cake, a simple 2-layer vanilla with buttercream frosting that was more delicious than any fancy wedding dessert could have been. I wore my grandmother's opal ring, which the police had recovered from Jessica's jewelry box during their search of her house. Detective Kim had returned it to me with a gentle smile. Your grandmother would be proud of you, she'd said. You stood up for yourself when it mattered most. Our guest list was small, just the people who truly loved and supported us. The flowers came from Patricia's garden. The music was a playlist Marcus and I had put together over late-night conversations about our favorite songs. It was perfect. It was ours. It was real. As I danced with my new husband under string lights we'd hung ourselves, I thought about the wedding Jessica had tried to force on me. The pretentious venue, the over-the-top flowers, the classical quartet I'd never wanted. She tried to turn my wedding into her fantasy, her vision of success and status. But she never understood that the wedding I wanted wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about celebrating the love Marcus and I had built together, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about our happiness. Jessica had spent $49,873 trying to buy me the perfect wedding. Our actual wedding cost $800, and it was more beautiful than anything money could have purchased. A year later, I received a letter from Jessica in prison. I almost threw it away without reading it, but something made me pause. It began, I've been in counseling here, and I'm starting to understand some things about myself that I never saw before. The therapist says I have something called narcissistic personality disorder, and that I've been using you as what she calls a narcissistic supply for years. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I want you to know that I never meant to hurt you. In my mind, I was trying to give you the life I thought you deserved. I see now that what I actually did was try to force you into the life I wanted for myself. You were always the strong one, Elle, even when we were kids. I think I resented that, even though I loved you. I wanted to be like you, but instead of working on myself, I tried to control you. I hope you're happy. I hope your marriage is everything you wanted it to be. And I hope someday you can remember the good parts of us without the pain of what I did. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Jessica, I folded the letter and put it in my desk drawer. I wasn't ready to forgive her. Might never be ready. But for the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt something like closure. Jessica had stolen my money, violated my trust, and tried to hijack the most important day of my life. But she hadn't won. She hadn't broken my relationship with Marcus, hadn't destroyed my faith in love, hadn't turned me into a bitter, suspicious person. Marcus, and I bought a house with a bigger garden. I started a freelance design business that's thriving beyond my wildest dreams. We're talking about starting a family soon. And every morning, I wake up grateful for the simple, authentic life we've built together. A life no one can steal, forge, or manipulate away from us. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply refusing to let someone else's darkness dim your light. If you enjoyed this story of justice and healing, smash that like button and subscribe for more real-life revenge tales. Drop a comment below about a time someone tried to control your life. I read every single one. And click that notification bell for the next story coming your way tomorrow. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens when a cheating ex tries to sabotage a custody hearing. See you in the next one.